We're entering the eclipse season. We have a solar eclipse in Aries on April 20th. This is the first eclipse in Aries since 2013. So look back at 2013, 2014 and reflect on the major changes that took place back then. Because this year we're starting a series of eclipses on the Aries-Libra axis. Now, the Taurus-Scorpio eclipses are not over yet. We've been experiencing for the last year and a half eclipses on the Taurus-Scorpio axis. Though this year, we will have a mix of eclipses in Aries-Libra and in Taurus-Scorpio. Now, on April 20th, we have the first Aries eclipse in 10 years. At the very last degree of Aries. So let's look at that chart actually. But before we do that, before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave me a comment. Let me know how you're feeling about the eclipse season. Also, I want to remind you that we're offering a discount on the astrology foundation training, the Foundation of Heavens. So find the link in the caption and start your astrological journey with me. So let's look at the chart. A solar eclipse in Aries. A solar eclipse is a new moon, when the sun and the moon meet. And they will meet at 29 degrees and 50 minutes of Aries. Now, what's most significant about this eclipse, other than being at the last critical degree of Aries, is that just a few hours after the eclipse, the moon immediately moves into Taurus, where she forms a square to Pluto in Aquarius, as you can see here. Then, the following day, the sun moves into Taurus, ending the Aries season, and forms an exact square with Pluto. Meanwhile, and listen to this, Mercury in Taurus is approaching Uranus, then stations to go retrograde without perfecting the conjunction with Uranus. It stations on a world axis, the 15 degree of Taurus, the 15 degree of fixed signs are world points or world axes. So in one hand, we have this very quick shift from Aries to Taurus right after the moment of the eclipse and the square to Pluto. But the eclipse happens at the last critical degree of Aries. This is the epitome and the completion of the Aryan energy. And Aries is the warrior energy. It's assertive, impulsive, passionate, ready to fight the fight. In Aries, we claim our identity, we assert our space in the world, and we have the courage to deal with the consequences. So the eclipse magnifies the Aryan, impulsive, passionate energy, then ends it quickly, shifting energies swiftly, entering into a new territory. This is a disruptive energy, very swift, very destabilizing. Then the eclipse here, or the sun and the moon, makes an aspect to Pluto. It makes a square to Pluto, calling us to confront what Pluto will reveal. And I will get back to that in a minute, but I want to add another layer to this eclipse. The eclipse being in Aries is ruled by Mars. And Mars is in Cancer, in its fall. Cancer is a domain that is not conducive for Mars to be itself. Now check my previous video on Mars in Cancer to get the full picture, because Mars rules the eclipse. So during the eclipse ruled by Cancer Mars, we might find ourselves more emotionally defensive, more emotionally impulsive, while at the same time Mercury is making a sextile with Mars. Mercury that is stationed in Taurus is making a sextile with Mars. So in a way, this is a harmonious angle. So we might look for ways to communicate our needs, our hurt, our emotions, but still the energy is very highly charged, as Mercury is stationed and Mars is in its fall during an eclipse. Then, as we said, the moon and the sun immediately moves into Taurus to square Pluto, which demands that we slow down, stabilize in Taurus. We need to stabilize for a moment to deal with what's being revealed. Pluto reveals things. So we are asked to slow down, to process, to be more cautious, and consolidate the lessons and the insights of the eclipse. To process the insights and the sudden news of the stationing Mercury close to Uranus, while at the same time our emotions are heightened and intense with the Moon-Pluto contact. So this whole configuration is deep, is intense. Pluto reveals, purges that which was once hidden. Whether information about others, something is revealed about others, or about your life, or about yourself. Pluto purges what's been unconsciously dictating our behaviors and informing our lives. Here, you are confronted with a new information. You understand something new about yourself or about another, which propels a deep transformation in consciousness, a shift in your life, in your being. This is a time for intense confrontation, as Pluto forces us to confront our hidden fears, our power struggles, our subconscious patterns. There is a new revelation that can change our lives, that can change us on a very deep, profound level. While this can be a painful process, it allows us to deal with what's at the core of our being, of our psyche, at the roots, so as to refine ourselves, so as to become more authentic. We are called to shed patterns or narratives about ourselves, or ways of behaving that have been painful and limiting. And this process helps us to have healthier roots in our psyche. And healthier roots ensure healthy growth in life. It ensures our soul's evolution. And in Taurus, we seek stability. We seek more practical ways of dealing with and confronting what's being revealed, whether information about other people, about our lives, or about ourselves. Additionally, Mercury stations at a world axis, at a world point, the 15th degree of Taurus, which tells me that there will be some collective, disruptive, maybe shocking, global news. Mercury will approach Uranus, which is very destabilizing, meaning the Earth is starting to shake. When Uranus is activated, the Earth is starting to shake in Taurus. Mercury, as an archetype, is the messenger of the gods, and it's making its way to the god of the sky, which is Uranus, to hear a revelation, to be struck by the lightning of Uranus, to be electrified in order to gain a new insight, a new clarity, new vision, and then to come back and carry the message to us mortals. But it doesn't make it. This is what happens during this month. It doesn't make it. It turns backward before perfecting the conjunction with Uranus. It turns backward to deal with all the stuff, meaning it takes us back to revise, to reassess, to deal with ghosts from the past. And these ghosts can be people, circumstances, memories, old patterns, and so on. In order to move forward, we cannot move forward towards Uranus without looking back, resolving the past. And Mercury is in Taurus. This is a fixed sign. So while it's true, Mercury is stubborn, fixed on its way in Taurus, but it can also be an opportunity to go deep, to penetrate the issues of our lives, deeper than we've ever been. So that's the story of the eclipse and Mercury stationing. Now, I want to add another layer to the story, the layer of Jupiter, so as to know how to best deal with these energies, the energies of the sky. Jupiter, prior to and during the eclipse, is said to be combust. This is of great significance, as Jupiter will be combust for the majority of the month of April. It is combust until the sun moves into Taurus a day after the eclipse. This is of great significance because this is the energy that is leading to the eclipse. Combusted Jupiter, except for a brief period of time when it goes cazimi for a few hours on April 12th. Now, this combustion leading to the eclipse has a message for us. And if you grasp the message of Jupiter, it will help you navigate the eclipses way more gracefully. So what is combust and what is cazimi? You know, a combusted planet is when a planet comes very close to the sun, that it becomes invisible. It is swollen by the sun, so to speak. It becomes dysfunctional. And Jupiter is our expansion. You know, it is the fortune we receive, but truly it is our faith. When we receive good fortune and luck, and when we experience the growth and expansion in our life, our faith, our optimism is renewed. And even when we suffer, you know, at the midst of suffering, Jupiter is the force that gives us meaning, that gives our suffering meaning. That at the midst of suffering, there is this sense that this is not vain. You know, this is serving a purpose. This sense of meaning keeps us going. It propels us forward. And Jupiter is the great benefic for that reason. Yes, it brings fortune, abundance into our life, but it truly, truly at its heart, it is the hope, the faith that there is more to this, that there must be higher meaning, higher purpose, that there is more to us, you know, that we are meant to grow. Now, Jupiter is combust, burned by the sun. So we might lose some of that perspective. We might lose some of that faith. We might question ourselves or even life. You know, we might question the meaning of it all. Though approaching the eclipse and this Uranian disruptive energy and the Plutonian energy, when the earth starts to shake and when Pluto is confronting us with these new revelations, it is when we need Jupiter the most to make sense of what's happening. But Jupiter is combust in Aries. And in Aries, as a defense, we might exaggerate. So we might exaggerate our reaction or our identity or exaggerate what we think we know. As we fall into this self-doubt, or we may feel that we're losing control. But can we rest for a moment in the unknown? Can we rest in the meaninglessness? Can we rest in the emptying of faith in ourselves and life? Can we meet this demon? Now, Jupiter at some point will reach the heart of the sun around, as I said, April 12, which illuminates its essence in a powerful moment known as cazimi. These hours are an opportunity to renew our faith and hope and optimism, to gain a higher perspective. This is highly positive aspect. Then Jupiter moves along to be combust again. So we may feel that it's not over yet, but we learned something, we gained perspective. But the true resolution of this particular dilemma will happen once Jupiter moves out of Aries into Taurus in May. But before that, we're going to be experiencing the highly volatile eclipse and the Mercury stationing close to Uranus. So how to prepare for that? Here's my advice. And if you grasp the message of Jupiter, it will serve you as a grounding anchor that stabilizes you during the eclipse season. You know, we live our lives trusting gravity. We know the earth will hold us down. We trust this force that it will keep us secure and safe. We're not concerned that we're going to be thrown aimlessly into space. Yet, metaphorically speaking, what if this very force that we trusted is suddenly shaken and destabilized? What would that mean? There are moments in life where we question the very things that we assume to be secure and essential and fundamental. This is the energy of the eclipse and of Mercury, Uranus, and Taurus when activated, and with Pluto. Mercury is our mind. You know, it is how we conceptualize reality, how we find answers. But these answers are very limited to our preconceived notion of reality. They are not free. With Mercury, we tend to be spinning in a cognitive loop, stuck in a cognitive loop to make sense of reality, which can be very useful because this is how you structure reality to be functional. But there are times that demand that this loop to be broken and to expand. And Uranus has the power to break the loop, to tremble the foundation, the cognitive foundation, in order to expand it. So Mercury is going through a very intense phase in Taurus, where it is stretching our minds beyond what once felt secure, known, and under our control. At the same time, the eclipse is ushering major ending and new beginnings, disrupting what is known, what's under control. Now, this might sound scary, but what if this process had the potential to liberate you from a metaphorical gravity that kept you down, that locked you in? What if there is something so freeing beyond how you constructed reality to feel safe, beyond that which is known or deemed to be secure? And gravity here can be a relationship in your life, a job, a home, or most importantly, an identity that defined you, a pattern that protected you, or a belief system that you held on to. And it can be collectively a system that we trusted, that is being shaken, financially, economically, politically, or a belief system. Now, I know this might sound scary, and I do not mean to scare you at all. The upcoming eclipses are obviously volatile and intense. Yet that doesn't mean your life will be dramatically affected, so don't be alarmed. Eclipses serve as trigger points. And for most people, nothing really dramatic happened on the day of the eclipse. Nonetheless, months from now, years from now, when you look back at April 2023, you may notice that something occurred that set off a ripple effect of upcoming changes that are major and important. However, I am suspecting that there will be major collective news, as I said. And expect the usual, with Mercury retrograde, especially in contact with Uranus, meaning in terms of disruption in technology or electronics and so on. We may witness some cyber crimes or hacking on a larger scale. And we can expect as well destabilization in the Taurus themes, generally speaking, meaning finances, earth resources, and so on. So preparing for the eclipse while listening to the message of a Jupiter. Here's my advice, and take my words into your experience, not just as a theory. Now, I can tell you the usual thing, like it's Taurus, so go sit in nature and ground yourself, take care of your body and your nervous system and so on, which is very helpful, very advisable, do that. And also with Mercury, back up your data and so on. But I want to take you deeper than this. Practice being safe in the unknown. Jupiter in Aries is an invitation to muster the courage to admit that you don't know. That indeed there are forces in the world beyond our control that you might not fully understand. While we cannot always have the full perspective while Jupiter combusts and full control during the eclipses, especially when Pluto and Uranus are involved, we can still rest in this space, trusting the intelligent force that spins the stars and the atoms. Here, we have an amazing opportunity for growth, but not in moreness, not in bigger, higher, and holier. No, Jupiter is combust. So perhaps the journey here is to go on the opposite direction, to hold on to nothing, to know nothing. To know nothing is to open oneself beyond the paradigm of certainty, to sober up from the fantasy of knowing, of control. There is a fake security in knowing and in controlling what we think we know. And an amazing liberation when you practice going beyond thinking that you know anything, that anything is certain truly. And when I say this, I'm not merely talking about knowing what will happen tomorrow. No, I'm talking about something deeper, about existential not knowing. You know, there are times to know, to be certain, to take control of the steering wheel of your life. But Pluto, Uranus, and the eclipses are forces beyond our conscious control. There is a higher order of reality that is absolutely intelligent. Reality is too profound to be known, to be conceptualized, to be controlled, to be pinned down. Once you pin reality down, you are losing its sanctity. So as disruptive as this eclipse can be, this is one of the most powerful times for the deepest shift in consciousness. But you need to take the unorthodox route, to bask in the space of the unknown. So for 5 minutes today, practice this. Look around and cease to name it, to label it. Cease to give it meaning. Cease to try to control what is. And see what happens. Look inside. Look at the depth of your emotions. Pluto. What Pluto is engorging from the underground of your psyche. That very thing that you try to escape all your life. And cease to control it, to escape it, to name it, to label it, to give it a story, to give it meaning. And stay here. This is highly humbling thing. Zeus, the king of the gods, Jupiter, is swollen by the sun. It is highly humbling process. But instead of reacting, exaggerating, controlling, resisting, divest yourself from this initial defense or need to find security in controlling, in giving meaning to your experience, and the need to make sense of this, and the trial to rearrange reality to your will. Divest yourself from the fantasy that you know what this is and what you are, and see what happens. The truth in this space is deeper than the illusion of control we exert on reality. It's deeper than the illusion of certainty. Take this eclipse moment and the Plutonian revelation and the Uranian lightning as a rebooting opportunity. You know, where you empty yourself, where you condition life from the passage of time. Look around you and look within you and cease for a moment to grasp it, to control it, to make sense of it, and feel how liberating this is. When the eclipses are here, when the earth is shaking, when your identity is shaking, go back to this place. Open yourself for a sense of security beyond the gravity, beyond definitions, beyond control, beyond the cage of knowing.